welcome to Scrivosphere. I'm Ryan, usual. So, what we're talking about today, as you can see behind me, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What a show! It's one of my all-time favourite shows. You don't get many shows like it nowadays, and it's just an absolute joy to watch. The whole gang, Buffy, Spike, Willow, Xander, Giles, Faith, Angel. You know, you've got all these characters, these brilliant characters in there. And they do so much during the show that you have to love. You just have to love it. Now today is the video I'm going to be doing my rankings. Now I've got my laptop here, so I'm going to be looking down every now and then, but I'll engage with you as much as I can. So let's hear best to better with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So before we get started, what is Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Well, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on for 7 seasons and followed a teenager turning into a strong woman who took out vampires, demons, the forces of darkness, with the help from the likes of Willow, Giles, Xander, Spike, Tara, so on. That's basically a rundown of the show. It started in 1997 and went on to 2004 with 7 seasons. And the seasons, in most people's opinions, the seasons got worse. But in my personal opinion, there was some good and some bad, some really ugly. And we're just going to have a general talk about it as we go along. But this is best to better, so you know where it starts. So let's get going with number 7. What's number 7 on the list of these 7 seasons? What, in my opinion, is the best, but not the better. The weakest of the 7 seasons, in my opinion, is season 4. Now, you know, after a strong first 3 seasons for Buffy's 4th season, and its work cut out with the move to college, going from high school to college, and characters like Angel and Cordelia are now off in LA for Angel's spin-off show. So it lost some key characters. Angel being established as Buffy's love interest from day one, almost day one. You know, you get a couple of episodes in, and Cordelia being that bitchy, hateful little thing that you grow to love as you go along the way. So to see her leave was, you know, it was hard because not everybody went over to watch Angel while they were watching Buffy. Some instances you might watch Buffy first and then watch Angel after, you know, episode by episode. But some people, like myself, when I do rewatches, and it's very wrong, but when I do rewatches, I rewatch Buffy and then I rewatch Angel. I don't watch them coincidentally, you know, because coincidentally is not even a word. Anyway, I don't watch them one after the other, simply because, like, you know, I don't watch it like I might watch an episode of Buffy where Angel's in it and then goes over to Angel and explains that episode a bit more, like when Faith comes back. The whole issue with Faith in few seasons of season 2 of Angel where Faith comes into it. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. So what else for season 4? Well, the show did keep the wittiness of the overall series. The initiative storyline kept the show from the core of it being, you know, one woman must stand alone against all these forces of darkness. That completely takes it away when the initiative come into it, and that is an issue. That's where my issue is with this season. I don't know if you have the same issue. You might not. You might put season 4 at your number 3 spot, or your number 1, or your number 6. You might agree with me and put it at number 7, whatever that might be. But for me, it was the initiative that kept it from keeping the core of the Slayer. They didn't, however, incorporate that into the show by saying, like, what is the point of the initiative? They had a little bit in there where it's like, well, what's the point of the initiative when I'm around? That sort of thing does come across a tiny bit. And Buffy shows that she is indeed the key to bringing down the forces of darkness. That is something that's implemented more so in this season than it is in the previous 3 seasons. But I still don't rate it enough to put it any higher than number 7. This is why I had to put it at the bottom. But at no point in the season or any season of this show do I dislike it. There is not a case where I will skip a season or skip episodes purely because it's poor. That is not the way I do rewatches. I will rewatch the show from episode 1 to episode 127, whatever episode it is, to the end. I will watch every single one. So do not ever see that. I don't see the point in skipping because it's still part of the story. Whether it's enjoyable or not, it's still there. It's still a part of the history of the show, and that needs to keep intertwined with it. So, yeah. So that's that one. So, the pros, of course, there is a very big pro for me. And what I think is misunderstood as an episode is that season finale. Most of the time you get a season finale and it's like they deal with a problem. In any season, they deal with a problem. But then that problem creates the next problem for them in the next season. That's not what happens here. What they have done is they have taken a storyline that would usually take us from season B to season B. It takes us from season 4 to season 5. That's what would normally happen. And this is why this season finale is misunderstood. Because the season finale actually deals with the problem that's been set in season 4. Then, at the end of season 4, it's dealt with. So there's no continuation as such. And it's such a misunderstood finale. People do dislike it. You get the first Slayer haunting the dreams of Buffy, Willow, Giles and Xander because they did the spell to destroy Adam. So people do look at that and completely think, well, why would you tone down the end of the season like such? From my opinion as a writer, now I'm not saying I'm up there like Joss Whedon, but I write, and in some cases, like, it can be easier to close off a story at the very end of the season so that you can then open up a brand new story in the next season rather than it being a lingering problem from the last season. And that's what Josh really understands, in my opinion. So yeah, that's a very misunderstood. Obviously, we've gone over some of the cons with the initiative. I'm not a fan, but again, I will not skip episodes. So then we have the overall story of this season, which entails obviously the initiative and Adam coming into it, which, it's like halfway through the season, here's Adam, here's something for Buffy to actually punch. That's what it feels like, unfortunately, but that's the reason why I have to give it the weak spot in this best better. But, again, it's not a terrible season of a series. In my opinion, it's still up there with some of the greatest seasons of any show. Best episodes like Restless, which is the season finale, and Primeval, which is a very good episode. Your weak episodes, of course, you get the Beer Bad. What can I say about that? Beer Bad is a terrible episode. Let's just leave it at that. That for me is the worst episode of the whole series. Again, I will not skip it, but it's not an episode I look forward to. You also have an episode which, while I have put it in my worst section, it is not by far the worst. It's hard to watch, it's cringy. superstar, which has, Jonathan, uses some symbol, makes himself this big superstar in Sunnydale. Everybody knows it. It's already in their mind. Even Spike. And, there was an issue in this season with Tara. She knew Buffy wasn't Buffy when it came to Faith being inside Buffy, but yet she could not tell that Jonathan had created some alternate reality where he was the man. You know what I mean? For some reason, Tara didn't get that. That's what struck me with her character sometimes. So, let's move on because we're already at 10 minutes and I've only done one. So, the number 6 spot is season 6. So, for this season, it struggles as a season the exact same reasons as season 4 does. It continues off from what has been a perfect storyline from my point of view. Seasons 1 to 3 is a good contained storyline. Season 5 is a good contained storyline. So bringing it down to season 6 now, obviously you can't fault the writers and the directors of the show for this season simply because it moved to a different network, which means that they went to go, moving from one network to another can change a show. Look at Supergirl. The first season of Supergirl was absolutely demolished for being terrible. But when it moved over to CW, the ratings came up. People liked it. So a network's influence can change the way the show goes. And that's what is proven from season 6. Going from season 5, which is quite a bright season, in my opinion. It's not happy-go-lucky all the way through. But, it shows in the light, in just the lighting of the show, that season 6 comes along and it's very dark. That is why season 6 has to go at number 6 for me, as the same reasons as season 4 went for number 7. But we do get some really good storylines in this, like Willow's turn to the dark side, which this is where I struggle with season 6, putting it somewhere because of that Willow storyline. How can you do such a big storyline in such a downgraded season? For me, that's what it was. It was very sudden, don't get me wrong, but that was the idea of it. Tara has been shot. Willow goes dark. She goes dark. So, that's Giles. She goes dark. So, what? And then you get the storyline with... Where are we going? Which way am I going? Spike. Somewhere over here. Spike. You get the storyline with Spike and Buffy. A relationship between Spike and Buffy at the start of the series was for me, absolutely no. But I got so used to the storyline, and I felt like Buffy needed something like that during the show to sort of separate her from that sort of a chick that goes for decent guys. She has a bad boy type to a certain extent. Angel's that sort of bad boy type, but he's the brooding bad boy type. Spike is the show it off bad boy, go fuck yourself type. Pardon my French. I'll edit that out. So yeah, and Spike does attempt to rape Buffy, which is a very hard storyline to watch, and a lot of people really I've been reading some reviews recently to help me with my video, not to help me decide where I put seasons. I put the seasons where I wanted them, and then I did some research to see what other people thought, and the consensus was that everybody disliked the way Spike treated Buffy towards the end of the season, especially with the attempted rape. So, it's a touchy subject. You get a lot of episodes in this season that are really good, but you get some that are really poor. The poorest for me are the two episodes that start the season, the premiere. It's not terrible, but it's not the best. Like, why on earth would you try to... I mean, I understand bringing Buffy back, but why on earth would you do it like that? It struggles. I struggle to understand it, and for me, Even though I said that Beer Bad was the worst episode in the whole series, as a two-parter, premiere for the season that's meant to set the season up, brings it down. Brings it down terribly. Thank God they had such a high season finale and such a high three-part season finale storyline with Willow being dark and everything, and Joel's coming back and kicking her ass, and Willow kicking his ass, and Xander saying that he loves Willow. Platonically, as more like a sister than anything else. But so that's where my issues come from. But it still manages to intrigue. The best episodes in there are 2 episodes, one after the other. Once more, we're feeling. How can you talk about season 6 without talking about the musical episode? That for me is a biggie. Once More We're Feeling is absolutely one of the best episodes in the series. In the whole series, like whole Buffy series, and in this season. A lot of people get frustrated with the whole music episode, but it makes sense. They made it make sense. Some shows, I can't point out any because I can't think of any, but like The Flash and Supergirl duet episode of the musical was perfect. It made sense of why there's a musical. So, there's that. The other episode is Tabula Rasa, which hopefully I've said that right. Tabula Rasa. Is it Tabula Rasa or Tabula Rasa? Tabula Rasa, I think it is. And everyone forgets everything, and you get this fun. It brings that light back into season 6. After such a dark start, and that's what the musical does as well. It just sort of picks you up. But, there's a lot of key storylines start in that musical, like Buffy and Spike, which continues on with this episode. And, everyone forgets everything. And it's a fun episode, Tabula Rasa. So, those are the 2 key episodes. But, I have to give credit to that great storyline at the end, which showed off like Xander is at the heart of the group and Willow's evil witchy bitch side. Villains, 2 to Go and Grave are 3 episodes in the whole series that, it can take pure and good and lovable characters and turn them on its head. And that's what I love about the show. It's not afraid to take characters that you love and turn them to a side that you would never think you'd see. You start watching Buffy and you tell me that Willow is going to try and kill 3 lads that are responsible for the death of her girlfriend. I mean, you wouldn't tell me that from the start of the series because you wouldn't know that she would have a girlfriend eventually. But that is what that is what you're looking at in this instance. So yeah, that for me is why season 6 deserves to be at number 6. And I know that there was a lot of boasting for that season, but at the same time, there's still issues with the season. So, number 5 could be a controversial one because number 5, for me, it has its weak spots, it has its strong spots, but it's simply because of the shortened season that I think it struggles with. That is season 1. My number 5 spot is season 1. Yes, it started everything. You might be so shocked that the season is so low. Well, let me start by saying that this season gave us the beginning of the legend, and it kept it going for 7 seasons without fail. When I say without fail, I don't mean the fails of, the failures of the initiative style thing. No, but it kept the show going, and it kept you from loving it all the way through. Now, but for a first season, it does struggle to break the season down, and there's no chance of a break from the master story. You get like these filler episodes, and it feels like it's lacking those episodes. Like in season 2, you get the Halloween episode. That's a filler, while still keeping it within the storyline of Buffy's trying to figure out more about Angel and trying to see if she can understand Angel more, and Spike is causing trouble. Spike gets introduced in season 2. Season 1 doesn't have that. Season 1 has to stick to, you get the sort of monster of the week style thing in this first season. Something which they later sort of stopped to a certain extent. But you know, you get this sort of problem in season 1 of it constantly being about the main story. Those first few episodes are probably the closest to filler, like the episode with the girl that turns invisible. But that's the reason why I love season 1. You know, but it does struggle to break it down. You know, however, it does manage to do it justice in comparison to seasons 6 and season 4. And that's why season 1 gets my season 5 spot. And you know, it ends pretty nice. You know, you get that slow Buffy theme, which for me, you know, it's quite, you know, the music in the show is tremendously good. So you know, my number 4 spot. My number 4 spot. Well, this season for me, at the time of when I first watched it, was very much in my heart. Simply because I was young at the time. I mean, when this season came out, I'll do the math eventually. You know, it was 2002, 2003. Smallville had started by then. You know, Supernatural was on the doorstep. There you go. Number 4, season 5. This season, I absolutely love this season, and I was considering putting this as my top season, but there are certain things in these other seasons for me that personally feel better. But season 5, I certainly struggle with the last 4 seasons, as each season is its strongest stories in the series overall. Season 5 is absolutely brilliant at bringing in a new style of villain for Buffy the Battle, and you know, really struggle with, while also balancing a life outside the Slayer business. With obviously Dawn coming into it. You get the Glory storyline, which is absolutely brilliant. Joyce's death. Joyce's death gets me every time. Every time I rewatch this season, there is not a time I don't cry. Simple as I'm putting it in there. I am very emotional. Joyce's death was very hard to watch. It's a brilliant episode. It's the best, and I'm going to say this now. It's the best episode. The body is the absolute best episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There is not a single piece of music except for the theme tune. There's not a single piece of music. You know, got a lot of the camera angles. You know, one set camera. It's a hard episode to watch. You constantly just, all you can hear is yourself going, you know, those deep tears. That's what comes along with that episode. Yeah, you get a Sister Dawn. Obviously, the mother's illness is a key plot. The Sister Dawn coming in. I like Dawn as a character. You know, a lot of people hate her. I quite like her because they write a teenager quite well. You know, you get some struggling storylines with a teenager sometimes. But I think they do it justice. But, you know, in bringing her in as possibly a villain, even though she's her sister, at the start of the series, they get that sort of, and they play it really well. Dawn knows they're talking about her. Buffy's on the phone with Giles, I believe, at one point, and it's like, oh my god, Giles, I think I've just figured out that Dawn's the key, sort of thing. And Dawn's behind her, creepy. But it's not a creepy because she's a villain, or because she's there to kill Buffy, or there to destroy the Earth. That's not why it's creepy. It's creepy because it's a sort of sister hating her sister because they're keeping secrets from her. That's where it is. But it plays off really well. And you really don't know, for a person who's watching it for the first time, you really do not know if Dawn is going to turn on them all and try and kill them all, or what. You don't know if that's going to happen. So, yeah, season 5 is a really good storyline. Like, the storyline itself is good. You know, it's starting what was going to be the last season with a Dracula story. Was a bit, you know. But it definitely improves from there. The final episode of the season was brilliant. And, you know, it ended... If it was to end there, I would have been an happy customer. You know, if it was to end at that season, it would have felt like it was worth it. Do I still feel that way with season 7? A little bit, not completely, but a little bit. But we will get to that season eventually. So my number 3 spot was going to be, these top 3 was really between seasons 5. It was going to be between season 5, season 3, season 1. No, let's change that. Right, so these top 4 seasons were going to be season 5, season 3, and you've got season 7 and season 2. My God, these went all over the place, and this season was number 1 for a while, but I realised that the other season that I have put number 1 has better storylines. So my number 3 spot is season 3. Season 3 was the perfect example of a perfect season in my opinion, but it's not number 1. I'm not trying to say that the first 2 are accentuating that perfectness, because it's not. But season 3 is a perfect example of a perfect season, in my eyes anyway, because you get another monster of the year to remember with the mayor. He's an absolutely brilliant villain, and it's like Glory. You think of Buffy and you think of the Master, you think of Glory, you think of the mayor. When you think of villains, they're the 3 villains that you think of. For me, the 4th villain is obviously the first, but they're the villains that you think of straight off on top of your head when you think of big season finale villains. That's why season 4 is so low, because obviously, while Adam is a very weak villain, because it just feels like it's out of nowhere, and just gives something for Buffy to actually physically hit. That's what it felt like. But it does feel like that in a later season that I'm going to talk about. But it is deserving of it being in there though, whereas Adam wasn't, in my opinion. But you get that. There is really, the villain of the year, Maya. It's one of those that you love but you hate at the same time. The season broadens the storylines from previous seasons, like Angel's struggle and return from this hell dimension that he was in, and it shows that with him leaving to do his own spin-off show in LA. But he leaves for LA at the end of this season, and it warrants it. So this season really did give us what later seasons struggled to do, which is bring the season out of its comfort zone successfully. Season 4 with the college and the university, and the initiative is not them bringing it. I mean, that was them bringing it out of the comfort zone and it not being as successful as they wanted it to. Glory, bringing it out of bringing it out of that style was the one that worked for me. So yeah, that's season 3. Has some great episodes in there, and it's a season that I will always remember. So my number 2 spot. Now you're probably thinking at this point, why has this one not been mentioned yet? My number 2 spot, you are not going to agree with in any shape or form, and I understand that. Not everyone will. But for me, it's a season that I love, and it's a season that will stay at my number 2 spot. I could do this list again in a couple of years' time. But these top 3 seasons, I think, will stay in the top 3. Though they may move around a little bit, but I feel that this season will always be my number 2 spot, and that is season 7. I know, you're not going to agree with me, but hear me out, okay? Season 7 got a lot of hate from veteran fans, due to the struggle of officially ending the show. But I believe that it to be the absolute one of the best shows that history has shown us for tying up a series. You look at Smallville, and you look at that last season, and you look at those, especially those last few episodes, But you look at this as Smallville as an overall season is absolutely perfect. You know, there is not a single fault I could see with Smallville for what they had for a show where they could not do the tights and the flight thing. But that last season isn't the best. Season 7 for me is for Buffy. You know, it is a definitive end to a show. And that's why season 7 deserves to be at the top. You know, it brings Faith back, and this time she's on our side. And you know, like Caleb taking out Xander's eye, which is so heart wrenching to watch. You're watching it and you're thinking, oh, Xander. And you know what? It actually, you ever get that feeling where it's not a tear and it's not a smile, but it's somewhere in between? That moment where Spike jumps at Caleb after he pokes Xander's eye out. It's like, yes, you know, it's like that sort of, oh, Spike, yes, you got it sort of thing. Like, you know, it's that sort of, oh, that's not the kind of thing you'd see Spike naturally do. He's protecting somebody like Xander, because we know Spike and Xander never got on. But in this instance, in that moment, Spike is like, nah, this ain't happening. And completely, you know, he jumps at Caleb. Doesn't really do anything to Caleb, but he stops Caleb from getting to Xander's brain with his thumb. But yeah, this season, I absolutely love this season. This season is not going anywhere in my heart. Season 7 closed the series off in a brilliant way. Now, before I said about the bringing Adam in as a way of something for Buffy to punch, right? When you look at it, the Uber vamps, in theory, that is the same thing. But it's warranted. Because you know from the get-go that these Uber vamps have been working for the First since day one. So, you know, they just have been locked up. That wasn't the case for Adam. Adam was created purely... You know what? Adam is such a complicated story. So I'm going to leave that one aside because I can't think of what I'm going to say there with Adam because it's a shit show with Adam. So, you know. So, yeah, for me, the way the show ended was pretty good. You know, you have that final battle and this is where people misunderstand Angel as well, you know. They couldn't understand why Buffy got that big battle that we waited for years, but Angel didn't. Because they'd done it on Buffy, you know, it's sort of cop-out if they do the same thing on Angel. They wanted to do something so different with Angel to give you a chance to think, well, okay, I'll make my own ending, which is what they do. That's what happens. You naturally watch Angel, and then you think, did Angel kill that dragon? Which, by the way, it was confirmed that the dragon at the end of season 5 is the very same dragon at the end of season 5 of Angel. In the end of season 5 of Buffy, where it comes at the portal. That is the same same dragon. They have confirmed that, which I find quite, you know, these little trivia things that I know are quite fun. But yeah, for me, season 7 was a perfect ending to a perfect series, and I love the series. It's not, by all means, it's not perfect, but for me, season 7 is a series that I will love every day. I look forward to watching it every time it comes to me watching Buffy. I always think, God, I can't wait to get to season 7. It's such a brilliant storyline. Spike gets his soul and all these little things. So, number 1 spot, we're finally here at number 1 after 34 minutes. What is my number 1 spot? You already guessed it. It's season 2. Season 2 is an absolutely perfect, absolutely wonderful season. As season go, you know, it's the highest it's ever been with strong storylines episodes to really stick your teeth into. You know, no pun intended though. Yeah. But you know, Angel's turn and Spike's introduction to Jenny's death and Buffy leaving Sunnydale, it keeps its strength throughout the whole of this season. And I have to admit, it's still the best season in any show, I believe, is hard to beat. Supernatural season 4 comes close to what could be season 2 of Buffy. And Smallville season 3, season 4, right a bit there, that is close, but it's never quite hitting the spot of Buffy season 2. Supernatural does, majority of the time, but season 4 was a high point. It's funny that when you watch my ratings for Supernatural, season 7 comes in at a very close spot to the season 7 here, and it has a similar height towards because of the live fans. But anyway, back on track. Season 2, the way the season ends with Buffy leaving, that beautiful song at the end of it, you know, Angel is dead. Off on a hell dimension. Spike's on his road with Drusilla. Spike comes back for one episode in season 3. Lover's Walk, I believe it is. It might not be called that. Don't quote me on that. And then he comes back as a regular in season 4 and continuously, and you know. But this season introduces so many more characters. It introduces so much more to the mythology that it has to be loved. Season 2 is the best Buffy season. Now, it's funny I say the word best, but because it's best to better. Should it be better to the best? Should it be best to the best? Or, you know, should I change it? But I'm trying not to do the worst to better. Like the worst to best or the best to worst. I hate doing that because for me, there is not a worst when it comes to the Buffy universe. But season 2 is absolutely brilliant. So there we go. That is my best to better video for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A show that's well deserved to be rewatched over and over again. You know, many shows still try that sort of Buffy style, but will never be able to reach the heights of the Buffy legend. Vampire Diaries tried it. True Blood had an esque Buffy with the humour a little bit. It never quite hits the spot, but this does. Buffy the Vampire Slayer does. You know, it is, you know. So, you know, please do keep an eye out for my next video. I'm not actually sure what I'll be doing it on yet. You know, things are starting to slow down with my plans of videos. I hate to disappoint, but I probably won't be doing that sports video with the, you know, the 10,000 calories in one day thing. Doing that on my own is, you know, it's not something that's advised. So yeah, that's my Buffy video. As you can see, I am clearly a fan of Buffy. You know, please do not take my word for anything in these videos. You know, it's just my opinion. Do not think that because I'm saying that's what I think that it's the be all and end all. You know, I'm not trying to say that just because the season 4 finale is misunderstood that you have to believe that as well. This has just been my opinion. So that's my Buffy video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment on my videos. Let me know what you like about these videos. Let me know what you dislike, and I'll try my best to change that for you. Thank you for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.